You are going to watch a real miracle take place. It was captured on video. Hello, I'm Todd Smith, and I pastor Christ Fellowship Church in Dawsonville, Georgia, which is the host church of the North Georgia Revival, where 25,000 people have recently been baptized. We are seeing a tremendous outpouring of God's Holy Spirit and a significant level of His glory. And as a result, our church, we're witnessing God's miraculous power working in the waters. Today, you're going to meet a young man who was born legally blind. Now listen to this. His vision was 20/3200. Now, can you imagine not being able to see out of one of your eyes? Today, he and his mom are with us in the studio, and you're not only going to hear his story, but you're going to watch the actual miracle take place in the baptismal waters at the North Georgia Revival. It was all captured on video. All of that is next on Point of Contact.
God gave Pastor Todd Smith a vision of his church's baptistry. A strip of supernatural fire blazed on the water. Since then, thousands have been baptized, receiving manifestations of miracles, signs, and wonders. Many have been radically saved and healed of long-time physical ailments. The water has become a point of contact, a place of supernatural encounter with God. Get ready to experience your point of contact with your hosts, Pastors Todd and Karen Smith.
I could not be more excited than I am right now with my two special guests that have come to this studio to talk about what I believe one of the most fascinating miracles that we've ever seen at the North Georgia Revival. Of all the miracles, this has to be in my top 5, and we've literally seen thousands of miracles in Dawsonville, Georgia. I am joined by this incredible young man by the name of Reed and his mom, Valerie, that have come all the way from Delaware to be with us. And I want to talk a little bit about Reed. I want to hear him talk about his story, but I want to hear from the mom's perspective. Reed was born with some complications, right?
Yes, sir.
And let's talk about those. He was born, one, legally blind.
Yes.
What else was going on in his vision?
He was born with glaucoma. He had a lot of pressure in his eyes. When he was 11 months old, he had a 5.5-hour bilateral eye surgery to relieve the pressure. But they weren't sure about what vision he would have from that. So once the surgery was over, he was diagnosed legally blind, and through the process of working and patching eyes and strengthening, he was able to work his right eye to the vision of 20/25 with glasses, but he was still legally blind in his left eye.
As a mother and as a parent, that had to be devastating news.
It was very devastating to think that my son could possibly be blind and not know the whole time that, he was an infant. I had no idea that he had trouble seeing. So.
Oh my goodness. So, Reed, when did you notice, I know a few years ago, that you had a problem with your vision, and when did you start noticing that? Was it in school or what?
I feel like it was probably when she felt I was old enough for her to tell me things.
Mm-hmm.
So when she told me, I didn't really understand what it was at the time. So I was extremely clueless on what it was, but
he could see with his glasses.
Okay.
He didn't realize the difference in vision with 2 eyes to
Right.
1 eye.
Mm-hmm.
So the 1 eye was getting stronger and he was seeing, but I don't think he realized the clarity of what you can see when you actually have your sight.
Because that's all he's ever known.
It's all he's
Now,
ever
when we say legally blind, Give me an idea of what he could see without his glasses, with the eye that was impaired. What does that look
So the left eye had much more damage to it, obviously, with the pressure. So what we've come to realize as Reed's grown, he was able to express to us, but we had eye appointments. From the time he had the surgery, we would go weekly, then we went monthly, then we were fortunate to go every 2 months, and it just kind of built up from there, but we were still working, trying to figure out sight for him, because he wouldn't be able to drive a car, he wouldn't be able to play sports, he wouldn't be able to do anything that other children are able to do when they have full eyesight. So that was difficult for me as a parent, to think that he wouldn't be able to have choices in life, that we needed to work on this. So as he got older and was able to explain it to me, when he had to look out of his left eye, and it had to be very close.
Right.
Anything that he saw had to be very close, but it was like a shape, or it was puzzled, like his eye had breaks through it, like there was these lines. He said there's lines through it, and he couldn't form a picture. It was just like he could tell like shapes, but nothing definite. There was no
definite.
there was no clarity to his eye at all. There was just
Explain that to me, Reed, what that looked like from your perspective when you would look at a piece of paper or a picture out of your left eye.
I mean, I could see what it was. I just couldn't picture it fully. There was like lines through it, so it was like separated, and I couldn't see the full picture clearly.
Wow. And so you're watching all of your friends play sports. You wanted to play sports. You love football. You love baseball. That had to be devastating to you and discouraging. And but there's always the rest of the story with this. So we got great news for you guys. I'm telling you, you're going to see the miracle in just a moment. But here's what I want to ask you. You are in Delaware. Dawsonville is in Georgia.
yes.
And you heard something significant was going on in the baptismal waters in Dawsonville. How did you
Yes.
hear that? What did someone come to you and tell you, hey, there's something supernatural happening, you may want to take Reed there?
My oldest brother, Irvin, had told me that his pastor, Pastor Rako, had come down to North Georgia and had visited and knew this was happening in the water. So my brother and I were discussing the last appointment with Reed, and it was devastating for me because they felt like that's all they could do for him, and he didn't have the sight in the left eye. And
So they were.
He didn't have the full sight in his right eye because it was all with glasses. So
Yeah.
like he didn't have that. And then they told me about the healing. My brother told me about the healing, and I just always believed that Jesus Christ is the ultimate healer. So we jumped in the car and we drove 12 and a half hours down, and he blew up an air mattress in the back for Reed to sleep, and we just head straight down to get to your revival that Sunday night, and it was life-changing.
Absolutely life-changing. What time, can you recall what time you guys got baptized that night? Was it, you had to wait several hours, or was it pretty quick?
I don't know, 8 or 9 o'clock, because we were back on the road by 10, because we drove back home that
So you
night.
came 12 and a half hours, got
Yes, sir.
baptized, and drove all the way back
and
home.
drove back home. Yes, we did.
Jesus responds to such faith. Listen, when we come back, I promise you, we're going to show you the actual moment, the very moment that Reed gets immersed and comes up, and to see the reaction of his face when his eye opens up. Don't miss this. You're going to love it.
We'll be back with more of Point of Contact in just a moment.
Log on to kingdomready.tv to access Pastor Todd's website for his popular books, e-books, e-courses, blogs, revival videos, and testimonies right from his church that for over 4 years has hosted a major outpouring of God's Spirit in the North Georgia Revival. In his eye-opening book, Speaking in Tongues, Your Secret Weapon, Todd Smith, a former Southern Baptist pastor, addresses all of the issues and misunderstandings people often wonder about with speaking in tongues, as he tells you why he strongly supports praying in tongues as one of the most powerful secret weapons a believer can have. Why your prayer language is the tool to use in prayer to push against the toughest situations. How a believer who prays in tongues spiritually builds themselves up and strengthens the church, and much more. To access Todd Smith's powerful resources, log on to kingdomready.tv.
Now back to Point of Contact.
Can you imagine being legally blind, basically unable to see out of one of your eyes, and how difficult life would be? Well, that's the situation that we have right here in front of us with Reed and his mother, Valerie, that drove 12 and a half hours from Delaware to get to the North Georgia Revival in Dawsonville, Georgia. You guys came to encounter the Lord in the waters because you have heard that the Lord was healing people, lives were being transformed, people being set free and miraculously delivered. Now, you're in line to be baptized.
Yes.
He's legally blind, 20 over 3200 vision, can't see without his glasses, and you're in line going down the steps, and he's with you.
Yes.
What did you ask him before he comes out into the baptismal waters?
I just asked him if he wanted me to go with him. And he said, "No, Mom, I haven't."
What did you think about that, Reed? Why did you say that? Why did you say that?
I said it right before I walked down and through the 2 walls because that was the day I wanted to have courage and go into water by myself and get baptized by myself, because I feel like that courage that pushed me through the water to come out I feel like that was God living inside me and pushing me through the nervousness that I did have before I went through.
It was a beautiful thing. The video of your baptism, you gave so many affirmations of faith. When Pastor Marty would ask you a question, you would nod your head, and he would say, "I'm going to lay my hands on you." You would say yes. And he walked you through the entire process, and you were just affirming with a nod of the head. It's the most precious thing that you've ever seen. But we're going to fast forward the video because I want you to watch the moment where Reed's eye opens up. You're going to see him go up underneath the water, and then you're going to see him come out of the water. I want you to pay close attention to his face, his eyes, the smile on his face, and his little chest beating fast, pounding rapidly as a result of the miracle, the incredible encounter that Jesus had with Reed in the water that cured him and healed him of legal blindness. So watch this right now. He gets into the water, and we have it on video.
I watched it.
Yes, that when he goes up underneath the water and he comes up, he rubs his eyes and his ears to get the water out, and he opens up his eyes and he realizes for the first time that he can see out of his left eye. That was absolutely amazing. I don't know what you're feeling. I know many of you are emotional right now and you're crying because you literally watched for the first time maybe a miracle. You witnessed it, you saw it, and I'm telling you, that is the most powerful thing I think I've ever seen on video, to see a person who was blind have his sight back. Reed, tell me, what was it when you came up out of that water and you literally started smiling? What was the first thing that you realized that you could see? What was going on in your mind?
I honestly had 0 words or 0 thoughts right as I came out of there. because I was shocked that I actually could see out of that eye, because what they told me and my mom was they couldn't do anything after age 9, and me and her never believed that there was nothing that they could do. So when that happened, I was just amazed that God actually did heal and let me see out of that eye.
My goodness. That's so powerful. That's beautiful. Valerie, what were you thinking? You were behind him, so you weren't able to see. You were trying to peek around.
I was trying, but I couldn't see his reaction. I didn't know. I was speechless as well. I mean, when he said he could see, and he could see so much, and it's so clear, that I don't know, I praised God, because he is the one and only that could ever have healed my son. And we knew that, but just to have that come to fruition for us, coming out of the water, it was just speechless to know that, God is with us at all times.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're out in the lobby afterwards, and I hear the announcement, someone's eye was opened up.
Yeah.
And I meet you in the lobby, and we did right there a test on live television, because we want to confirm and affirm everything that God has done. We just don't want to say, oh, God healed an eye, but we want to test it to make sure. Remember, I kept asking you the questions.
Yes, you did, and he couldn't read like anything really, but it had to be very close. And when you said, can you read that, I thought, oh dear, I don't know, and he was just...
That poster was about 6 feet, 5 to 6 feet away from him.
I would say a good 6 feet.
Yeah, yep. And I said, read that. And that's one of the things you don't want to do, not knowing the response, because it could just really fall apart. And you read it like a champ, Reed. I'm telling you, in fact, I had him cover up his good eye so that he could read out of his previous legally blind eye. So it was at that point that the whole world was knowing what had happened. So what did you think about all that, Reed?
I had 0 words for what happened, because I was insanely shocked that I could read. Because before I went into the water, I couldn't see out of my left eye, maybe like 2-3 feet in front of me. So when I could read that, I felt so proud of myself that I actually could read it. Because never before I got in the water, I probably could never have even saw that.
No, you couldn't. And it's just amazing what God's doing. I'm telling you, the video that you just saw, you can go watch the full length of the video at kingdomready.tv. kingdomready.tv, because it's going to build your faith. You get to hear Pastor Marty asking questions, clarifying the conditions of what was going on in his life, asking you questions, asking Reed, and then you get to see the whole segment, 4.5 to 5 minute long video at kingdomready.tv. You don't want to not see that. You got to see that. It's absolutely amazing. I cannot wait till we come back in just a few moments, because we're going to talk about what the doctor said. We're going to talk about the influence that it has had on your family and the community. I want to encourage you guys right now to let us pray for you. We want to hear from you. We want to know what's going on in your life. I want you to email me at Pastor Todd at kingdomready.tv, Pastor Todd at kingdomready.tv. Let us know how these programs are helping you. Let us know if there are certain prayer requests. Our intercessory prayer team will be praying for you, loving on you, ministering to you any way that we can. And we're going to pray for you in our next segment, those of you that have eye issues. We're going to believe God to heal you and to restore you. But when we come back also, we're going to hear what the doctors had to say about Reed's miracle. You're not going to want to miss this.
We'll be back with more of Point of Contact in just a moment.
Many say America is broken and that God has finally abandoned us. Can America be saved? Are we at the point of no return? Log on right now to kingdomready.tv and get Todd Smith's essential book for our times, Come Alive, Dry Bones. Through this book, you will realize the dangerous spirits behind the alarming apathy and spiritual complacency of the church, recognize the celebrity spirit that has infected the church, and the urgency of the real spiritual condition of America, and see the unfolding of God's encouraging plans for America and the world, and how you are a part of the solution. Todd Smith, the pastor who hosted the tremendous outpouring of God's revival fire in the North Georgia Revival, wants to share his revival resources with you. Log on now to kingdomready.tv. Log on to kingdomready.tv to access Pastor Todd's website for his popular books, e-books, e-courses, blogs, revival videos, and testimonies, right from his church that for over 4 years has hosted a major outpouring of God's Spirit in the North Georgia Revival. In his eye-opening book, Speaking in Tongues, Your Secret Weapon, Todd Smith, a former Southern Baptist pastor, addresses all of the issues and misunderstandings people often wonder about with speaking in tongues, as he tells you why he strongly supports praying in tongues as one of the most powerful secret weapons a believer can have. Why your prayer language is the tool to use in prayer to push against the toughest situations. How a believer who prays in tongues spiritually builds themselves up and strengthens the church, and much more. To access Todd Smith's powerful resources, log on to kingdomready.tv.
Now back to Point of Contact.
Reed is going down into the water, legally blind, but comes up out of the water, able to see. I love the expression on his face the moment that he realizes that his legally blind eye has been opened by King Jesus. It doesn't get any better than that. I mean, that facial expression says it all. I love it. I love it so much. Valerie and Reed, I'm so glad that you guys are here with us so that we can literally walk through the miracle that God performed. I tell people all the time when I show this video, this is an atheist's worst nightmare. It literally is, because they don't believe in God, they don't believe in the supernatural, and yet they're able to watch this. Mm-hmm. His eye open up. Isn't it amazing? So, Valerie, you go home. You drive 12 and a half hours back to Delaware.
Yes.
What's one of the first things that you do? You take him to the eye doctor.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Walk us through that.
I made an appointment with the eye doctor, and I took him back. They came in like they were just going to do a regular routine, and they always did it with the glasses on and everything, and we didn't have our glasses. And I said, would you please check his eyes without his glasses?
What was their response when you said that?
They're like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? He's always, he has to have his glasses. And I said, I don't believe so. I don't believe he needs them. And I said, would you please just do this for me? And they did. They did an eye exam without his glasses. And not only did they tell me his right eye was 20/20, which we did not have. We had 20/25 with glasses, so taking them off and having 20/20 and perfect vision in his right eye. And then the decreased in the left eye went down to almost 20/80. We're at like 20, like
20,
just like 200. Yeah, it's gone down quite a bit. And of course, going in the water, we didn't ask for perfect vision. We just asked the Lord for vision. So we received bountiful. We received a lot more than going into it than coming out. So they were astonished. That would be a good word. They were astonished by Reed.
What did they say? They just like with their mouths open?
They were, in a way, I would call it speechless, because they didn't really know what to say. They've known him since he was 11 months old. He's 9 years old, and he walks out of their office not being able to legally see in his left eye and needing glasses in his right eye to have 20/25. So when he walks back in and he has no glasses and he's 20/20 and he's doing really well with his left eye and he can actually see out of it, and he was reading like the letters they put up on the board. He was reading the letters and they were getting smaller and smaller, and he was still reading them, and they were silent. They were absolutely silent.
It confounded them.
It did. They did.
A miracle.
It did.
So what are you thinking, Reed, while you're in there having this eye exam and you're reading that chart and nailing every single letter?
Well, I feel like even they've known me since I was 11 months old. And after they gave me that surgery, they were like, you got a patch, you got to do this to heal it. And I never really did any of that. Because she wouldn't really make me. I would throw a fit and she would feel bad and she wouldn't do it. So when I walked in there 2 years ago, and they were like, why would you do it without the glasses? And she was like, I want you to do it. And the way they looked is still in the back of my head from 2 years ago. The way they were just standing there speechless was the funniest thing ever, because they didn't really know what to say.
It was a miracle, and science could not figure it out. So quickly, in the time that we have left, so what's changed in his life as far as activities? What's he able to do that he was not able to do?
He is able to play football. He plays baseball all the time.
So now he's at bat without any glasses, and a pitch coming toward him.
Knocks it out of the park.
He just rips the leather off of the cover of the baseball. Playing football, literally playing baseball.
Yep. Yeah, they're his two favorite sports, and he goes to school. He like the chalkboard or the I guess you have dry erase board now.
We have both.
But like with the computers and everything, he doesn't have glasses. He doesn't. And now he's like, when he's 16, he'll be able to drive a car. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I feel about that yet, but he's now able to drive a car and, do things that he would have not been able to do if we did not find you. And we can't thank you enough for everything. Yeah.
Well, Valerie and Reed, I just want to say thank you for being here with us to share your story. There are people all over the world right now that are having eye issues, perhaps similar to what Reed had, and maybe even other things that are going on. I just want you to know that when we share miracles like this that have happened in the North Georgia Revival, it's not just to talk about one story, but the word testimony in the Hebrew literally means that God will do it again. And we're sharing this out of love for you because we believe God can do this for you right now, just as He did for Reed 2 years ago in the baptismal waters at the North Georgia Revival. So I want to pray for you. Father, I thank you that right now, just a clarion call all throughout our viewing audience today that you're going to release healing. Lift your hands right now. You're going to release healing in, Lord, the airways, going into people's homes, literally touching them, setting them free. And Lord, glaucoma is going away, cataracts are going away, all of them in Jesus' name. Receive that right now. Well, another exciting episode of Point of Contact. It just gets better and better. Thank you guys for being with us. God bless you all.
You've been watching Point of Contact with Pastors Todd and Karen Smith.